afternoon's hearing of the Tax Conference Committee. The House members informed us that we would be receiving another attempt, and we will be returning that effort later today on comprehensive offer that shows side by side. And after we go through it, we will recess for the Senate. I'm sorry, I'll speak louder. For the Senate conferees to consider it. We do not, on our side, have any particular motions to offer this afternoon. We may, through the end of the day, come back to that, but anyway, that's not our intent this afternoon, okay? So, Representative Gomez, if you or your staff or your members would like to take us through your offer this afternoon, that would be wonderful.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy Mother's Day. Good to spend Mother's Day with everyone. So, yeah, I'll just kind of go through and highlight the change items. And with your indulgence, I'm just going to talk for a few minutes.
Sure.
Because on line 17 is the worldwide combined reporting. And we've moved off of that position and toward the Senate position on the treatment of international income.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to talk about worldwide combined reporting just for a couple minutes.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Chair Russ.
Trying to figure out, then make sure I'm looking at the right document.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are. We have
Is it this one?
it says offer, I'm sorry, offer comparison in the upper left, it's just so everybody knows, and on the right, upper right, 5/14/2023.
Got it.
12:15 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay.
No.
Oh, am I on the wrong one? Okay.
2:25.
2:25 p.m., not 12:15. Okay.
2:25 p.m., yes. Got
Yes, okay, sorry. Does that mean mine's different? Is that on 12:15? Okay. Mine's 12:15. Hopefully it didn't change too much in those couple hours, because this is where I have all my notes. Okay, yeah, so line 17, worldwide combined reporting. I just wanted to talk about this briefly. Obviously, we, both bodies adopted this in our bills that we passed off the floor in the House. I mean, and on both of, so it passed through both of our caucuses with the support of all of our members. Worldwide combined reporting is a way to go after the practice of multinational corporations who are able to lower their state tax liability by shifting profits into lower tax companies. And I guess I'll just say, like, when you talk to regular people about this, when you talk to regular Minnesotans about this, they are aware of these tax shifting tricks that the largest corporations in the world engage in, and they believe that we should do something about it. And it's not just, this is sort of a bipartisan issue. Of course, in the TCJA, when there was a Republican trifecta at the federal level, they passed, some of the guilty pieces that we're proposing to conform with. But that's just an indication, right, that people, regardless of their political backgrounds, understand that, this practice, and it's really, it's the largest corporations in the world that do this, the ones who can hire the fanciest accountants. Your Main Street business, even if they're organized as a C corporation, are not doing this kind of stuff. It really does give these largest corporations, multinational corporations, an advantage over, small local businesses, because all their profits are subject to federal and state taxes. They don't get to dodge taxes in this way. And so this is basically like when a corporation has a subsidiary that's overseas in a low tax country, And, GILTI is Global Intangible Properties, or that's kind of part of the acronym. And so, intangible properties is like patents, licenses, and so they can transfer these patents, trademarks, copyrights to an overseas subsidiary in a low-tax country. And then the parent corporation can license the trademark, the patent, the sort of intangible property, and they get a business deduction for buying, for that, the cost of licensing the intangible property from an entity that is a part of their corporation. And so the fact that they're in different countries doesn't change that relationship. And so a corporation shouldn't get a business deduction for one part of it buying something from another part. It doesn't make any sense. It's not how any of our kind of tax treatment works. It's not how individuals are treated. It's not how small businesses are treated. It is really just the people who can pay the most for the fanciest accountants to evade taxes. Unitary taxation says that transaction between the subsidiary and the parent corporation is an intercompany transfer. And a business should not get a deduction for an intercompany transfer. I also just want to say that there's been a lot of, I believe, misinformation shared about this in the press and elsewhere. The Supreme Court has twice upheld the constitutionality of worldwide reporting, in the Container Corp decision in the 1980s and the Barclays decision in the 1990s. I guess we understand like what happened. We're living in reality. But I guess I just want to say that like when you describe this to somebody, they're like, oh yeah, we shouldn't let them do that. So this is a policy that, I'm sad that we're not able to implement this year. But I just wanted to kind of share a couple of the ways that I'm thinking about it as we do move off of it and toward the Senate position. So I appreciate the chance to just say that, and I won't do much more editorializing. I promise, Madam Chair. We're just going to roll through the spreadsheet. Okay, so. That's line 17. On line 18, we took, I'm going to do a little more editorializing. My staff just pointed out, she's like, wait, there's this later thing. Okay. Sorry. Line 18 is where we take the Senate position on the federal conformity with GILTI. Line 20, we take the Senate position on DRD, on deductions for dividends received. And then on line 22, we add another sort of replacement revenue for our worldwide reporting, which is a repeal of the qualified data center sales tax exemption. Just real quick, this was passed, I think in 2013. I was just looking at the revenue estimate. But when it was passed, the revenue estimate was a fraction of what the cost of this has turned out to be. This is something that, in 2018, Governor Dayton proposed repealing the software exemption. Governor Walz in 2019 had a repeal, I believe, of the software exemption. And, this is kind of, it's sort of a tax break for corporations that has ballooned. The cost of it has ballooned, and there remains a question, I believe, as to whether this is a use of public money that actually generates the type of activity that it was intended to generate. So I would appreciate the consideration of that line 22. Moving on to the individual income tax article, on line 26, we move to the Senate and Gov cost in the tails. We still have some policy kind of considerations that we would like for this, and we'll continue those conversations as we move forward. Going on to the next page, the K-12 credit, which is lines 37 and 38. We move to the Senate position on that. Line 42, you'll see that we pulled out our working family credit expansion for ITIN filers, just to align with the way that the Senate has communicated this on the sheet. We kind of have always had the same, that's always been the same between our two positions, but we were folding it into our overall working family credit child tax credit line, so we pulled that one out just for simplicity's sake. If on lines 45 and 46 is the beginning farmer tax credit, we moved to the Senate allocation. We still would like to define the farmers in the way that the House has in our position, and we can discuss that further. Line 52, we move back to the original House position, which the Senate accepted, on the student loan credit. Also on student loans, on line 57, we sort of just missed this, honestly, in our first offer, but it modifies the discharged student loan subtraction. So there's a couple different pieces here. One is we know that there's the proposal for student loan forgiveness at the federal level that's kind of caught up in the courts. But should that be implemented, then we want that student loan forgiveness not to be taxable. So we want to add that to the subtraction. The other piece is that at the same time that the executive order was issued on the student loan forgiveness, the $10,020 for those who receive certain kinds of student loans, there was a modification to the pay-as-you-earn and revised pay-as-you-earn plans that are not covered by our current subtraction. So it sort of just expands the definition of, there are a number of different federal repayment plans where at the end of, it's often 20 years, I believe it was contracted to 15 under this recent rule that was issued in the executive order. But we just kind of want to make sure that, you know, to the extent there's an income-based repayment, there's income contingent repayment, there's pay-as-you-earn, there's revised pay-as-you-earn. And so we wanted to kind of create just so that we don't have to, if there are different programs or different rules promulgated by the feds, we just want them all to kind of be included because they're all in the same pot. So like if you're complying with federal programs and you get your student loans forgiven, we think you shouldn't be taxed on those. So that's that one. Moving on to the next page. On line 85 is the construction materials exemption for the MSP airport. We moved back to the original Senate language, which had a lower amount in the first biennium. On line 101 on the next page, page 4, we removed the exemption for edible cannabinoid products. That's just a little one, but we think that's going to be dealt with in the cannabis bill, hopefully. Next page. Line 123, we increased the House position on public safety aid from 50 to 100 million, moving closer to the Senate position. I just wanted to note right below that on 124, 125, that I hadn't noticed on my first read that you moved this to not the one-time tribal aid, which is the same amount as the Gov's position, but it's not specified for housing and homelessness, and appreciate that movement and hope that we can get an ongoing allocation in that space as well. Lines 127 and 128, local government aid and county program aid. We removed the inflator on both of those, which moves us closer to the Senate position. Lines skipping down, oh, did I do SWC? Okay, sorry. Skipping down to lines 143 and 144, we cut the local homeless prevention aid down to 28 million in biennium, and the local affordable housing aid to, or I guess it's 30 because that's the interactions. right, I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, my staff are nodding. And then line 144, we move our local affordable housing aid also down to 50 million a biennium. And finally, on page 6, we have a change to the SCORE grants in that we move ours to a one-time appropriation in the first biennium. And that's, those are the changes in the spreadsheet. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Gomez. On the first page, and I will invite other members to ask questions as well. Let's see, where did I was wondering, no, I unstapled it, so I'm not sure I'm on the right page. There was a different cost. Where was that? It was kind of like the same item, but a different cost.
You're talking about the revenue raisers?
Yes, I'm looking at the cost of the revenue raisers.
The fifth
We're trying to
tier?
do the same thing, but,
Line 15 and 16, Chair.
no, I'm not talking about the fifth tier. It was one that we were doing that was similar. I should have raised a question at the time, or there, or maybe you see them. On that first page, is there any that we're doing that are similar, but that come back with a different cost?
So, Madam Chair, the two revenue raisers that we took from the Senate are line 18, the federal guilty conformity. The numbers look the same to me. And then the line 20, the DRD, and those, we took your numbers too. So, but I don't think there are other changes in revenue raisers in this sheet that I can see.
Well, maybe, I'll find it, I'm sure. Maybe, are there, Senator Klein has some questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chair Gomez. And you were kind of going through line by line the items that had changed since the previous House offer. And I didn't hear if you said it, maybe you did, that there was a significant change at lines 15 and 16 in the, I guess, what you call the millionaire's tax. And I just wanted to make sure that that was an intentional change, because it is a rather significant dollar change in a revenue raiser.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Senator Klein, thank you. Basically what we did was we kind of, when we were putting together our last offer, we kind of balanced our sheet on the fifth tier in the first biennium because our spending was so much lower. We could have spent $300 million extra dollars, but we didn't need it. So what we did was we
Lowered the rate?
Yeah, we lowered the rate a little bit, so the fiscal 26-27 number is that full 1% on those married filing jointly earning above $1 million. But then for the first biennium, we dropped it down a little bit.
So, and actually, that exactly was my question. I was trying to understand why the difference. So what was the rate in your new, on line 15, which is your House offer on the fifth tier, it's 10.85? What was it before that, the rate?
Can I ask Mr. Williams? Because I know what happened in the first.
Does my question make sense? I'm trying.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know what happened in the first biennium, but then the numbers are a little
If the revenue went
different
down.
in the second.
It has to be because one of the factors in calculating the total
Yes.
was changed, and I don't see a particular change there.
Yeah, Chair Gomez and Senator Russ, my understanding was the intent was to keep the.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to put my hearing aids in, so if you would speak louder.
Chair Rest and Representative Gomez, so I think the intent with that offer was to keep the rate the same in the second biennium, so the 10.85% rate, and sort of identify a rate if the Senate were to accept that offer to back into the number for the first biennium.
I see. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Well, I appreciate the move to some of the Senate positions, and particularly overall with moving to some of the revenue that we feel we need to raise in order to support this bill. Your two new ones are not the two new ones we would favor at this point, but I do appreciate that that move, and I think we would certainly prefer again the net investment income and the phase out of the deductions rather than the fifth tier, even modified, and also the data centers, although I see that you have moved that effective date out. And also a move to, and I know what it was. It was also the child tax credit, separating that from the working family credit, but at a different level than the Senate has. So that is something certainly worthy of discussing and looking at it. We will be doing that. The wish that you had stayed or closer to our position on the SCORE grants, of course, and the we'll look carefully once again at the other sales tax items that you did not choose. And I was wondering, we didn't see anything particularly extraordinary in the sales tax proposals that came, and wondered if you could explain why you didn't support the full group that we do.
Madam Chair, in the construction materials exemptions
Yeah,
that
the,
start on 73.
We had line 75
Yeah.
for Beltrami County, and then construction materials at for Grand Rapids, and then Itasca County, and you explained that you went down from your original position that we had come up to, quite frankly, on the MSP airport, but just wondered why you then went back down.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So our discussions in our caucus were that the supporting the jails was not something that our members were interested in doing in this way. The other one was the Grand Rapids. We just hadn't seen that one until recently. We didn't hear it, so we just kind of are learning about that one now. And the MSP airport, that was just a lot of money, and so we sort of, it was folded into that overall bigger number in our initial position, with the Gov doing the sort of blanket retroactive exemption. So we brought that one down because we just thought that was it was kind of out of proportion with the rest of what we were doing here. So
We also note that although we had proposed but did not take a formal vote on it with you folks, here the other day, but on the other sales tax exemptions, that there are a number of them that you rejected as well. And wonder in particular about the fiber and conduit for broadband exemption. We and the disregarded single-member entities. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I read that wrong on that line. But the hot dog sales tax exemption on line 107, that was particularly important to our sports teams. And just if there's any particular policy reason that you rejected those, that whole group from lines 102 down to 110. You took 3 of them, but not the rest.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So,
Just if there was a I mean, if you ran out of money, that's one thing, but if
Yeah.
there's a policy reason, that would be of interest to us.
So I think the fiber and conduit for broadband is sort of a cost issue. I mean, it's 5 million in the tails, and we're kind of getting to the point where we're, where we're having to make trade-offs. We are sort of still, we're not like, I wouldn't characterize our position as rejecting anything yet. You know, we're still open to having conversations about them.
So it was more just budgeting in that area rather than objecting to the
For
policy of giving it.
Yeah, for the broadband piece, I think that's kind of our, what our conversations have been about. I mean, I will say that, we, obviously my division chair sometimes can't sign into Zoom at his house, so we know like that broadband is a huge issue across our state. We need Dave to be able to go to a meeting. Also, I'm curious because there has been an infusion of federal cash into this. We passed money for matching for locals we passed state money for that. I just kind of need to learn more about what this. I remember sums that are hundreds of millions of dollars in these federal subsidies in the matching state, the state match, and so I'm. Yeah, just kind of curious about like what this is getting. I will just say, as somebody who lives in an urban area, that the idea of giving, I mean, these things are. I know that we are having these telecom companies who are doing a thing that our communities need. I also will tell you that, like in my neighborhood, if you looked at the implementation maps for fiber. Our low-income communities of color are absolutely redlined by Comcast and others. And when I look at those maps, I'm really not excited about giving public tax breaks, money to corporations that don't seem to be committed to providing services equally across the city. And I know that, they're that when you speak to those companies, and I used to work at the city, and so, I did talk to some of those companies before they were implementing fiber, and it's purely, they'll say, oh, well, it's a business decision. It's about money. It's a bottom line decision. It's about who's going to, be paying the bills, be opting into using those services in these areas. We project that it will be lower in these areas. Well, but then you're not a public utility. If that's what you're making your decisions based on, then I'm not tripping over myself to provide public dollars to you. So that's a kind of a little bit of a personal thing. As to the exemption for amenities included with admission to athletic events, again, like nobody has convinced me that this is a worthy use of public dollars. We already exempt stadium suites from taxes. That's in the tax expenditure budget. I don't believe, that we need to be giving tax breaks to, billionaires who own sports teams, even if they own sports teams in my city. I don't believe that people who can afford to access a luxury stadium suite need public dollars to go to subsidize those. So that's my perspective on it. Thank you.
Well, initially, and we'll have our own conversation about it, I am disappointed that you are not considering the historic rehab credit for any support there, and you'll see that you definitely will see that in a proposal that comes back from us. And of course, I'm extremely fond of line 104 because I think it's going to save lives. And I'm really disappointed that the sales tax exemption for firearm storage units did not get your approval. But we hope you'll see that again, too. Are there any other questions on any lines? Senator Housechild, why don't we start with you? Do you have anything that you'd like to bring to our attention, or things you like that you want the House to know about, or that you're disappointed in, or anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, the discussion has been very helpful, and I kind of align with a lot of the discussion, so
Okay.
I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Senator Klein, anything further?
Only to say that, thank you for making several motions towards the Senate position. Those were areas I think that were priorities of mine. And I'm grateful for your continued commitment to LGA and CPA.
Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm excited to see the consideration of the SCORE grants. It's one of my pet issues that I've been committed to working on for a number of years. I was kind of like tracking the meandering of the SCORE grant offers back and forth, and there was a contemplation of migrating. Probably don't need to consider the history of the injustice of the question. How the tax was originally created for this purpose, then diverted in large measure to the general fund, and we should right that historical wrong. So I see the first offer kind of contemplated that migration at a slower pace. We of course offered my bill in its original form, and I see a one-time consideration, considerable one-time, but wondering if there is continued contemplation of creating a schedule to migrate back to right the historical wrong. Then I wanted to comment on something that's in your offer, not our offer, but that I really like. So, did you want to respond on SCORE?
Yeah. Yes, I would just say, yeah, it's still in the mix. And absolutely agree in principle with it. It just, as gets pretty expensive, but I do think that we need to figure out how to move more to like what the original intention was. And we know that we're not meeting our recycling goals, and we have to help our local partners to do that. So definitely it's still in the mix. Thank you.
Great, thanks, I appreciate that. Just to expand it, it would help us move towards, product stewardship initiatives and, do all kinds of kind of structural innovations to help us in our entire kind of product, material use, climate goals, like I said, product stewardship and the like. So I can get pretty excited about it. I'm a mentee of Frank Hornstein's on this.
Same.
And then I hope I'm not betraying the Senate here, but I love that you continue to pursue housing and homelessness. And if we ever get to a point.
Yeah, that's a betrayal.
All right, huh?
I said, that's a betrayal.
Well, I wear that issue on my sleeve. I work on it a lot outside of the tax committee. Of course, my passion is for homeless youth. So when we look, if we ever get those dollars, I know those dollars flow right now to the counties. I'm always interested in how they regard homeless youth, because they're a very different cohort than adults out of doors. And I know counties have all they can do to, especially our counties have all they can do to deal with the encampments and things like that. But homeless youth is a slightly different profile, and sometimes counties have a harder time understanding that and how to serve that population best. And I'll just so ask that parenthetically, they keep a lot of that money for themselves, for their enterprise at the county level. So that's worth the discussion too.
Madam Chair?
Senator Weber?
Just, if I could, just briefly on the
Oh, I'm
homelessness.
sorry.
Oh, that's
I didn't
okay.
realize you were.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just looking at some of my county people who are like, what, we keep the money for homelessness? They disagree, but we'll have that conversation moving forward. I just wanted to mention, I'm appreciative of you bringing up the homeless young people, and I know that you're particularly passionate about us ensuring that we serve unaccompanied homeless youth, 16 to 24, and that we figure out how to properly serve them. And so I'll just say that, like, when we originally were coming up with, when Commissioner Marquardt and I were working together on that, when he was the chair on the local homeless prevention aid, that it was, we started out with it really focused on families with kids, and we expanded it to include those 16 to 24-year-olds. And I believe it was Representative Pinto who kind of was advocating for that, but I know that this has just been a long-time priority of yours, and just looking forward to getting the Homeless Youth Act and the Pathway Home Act passed. I'm just going to put that plug in, that this is not out of the purview of our committee, but the House passed that with bipartisan support, and hopeful that it can get over the line, because what we discovered when we were kind of digging in to those policies when I was the chair of the Preventing Homelessness Division was that if we can get just a few of these 16 to 24-year-olds stabilized, kind of having a life where they can be full participants in society, that the savings to our systems are absolutely worth that front end effort. If we just allow young people who are homeless to fall off the map, it's like it costs our ERs, it costs our prisons, it costs all of our systems. So, sorry. Homelessness rant over. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, now,
Okay.
are you finished? Good with him? Okay. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few points I'd like to make. I appreciate the House moving off the worldwide reporting, and just to comment on a few of the editorial issues brought up by the chair. I think that those of us that have a substantial amount of industry, that being agriculture and food processing, that have a number of foreign ownerships involved, I think that we look at the states that have proposed this type of reporting across in the last 30 years, and they have all backed away from it. Just because of the difficulties that are involved with enforcement and carrying it out, as well as the fact that it does also open the doors for probably trade war ramifications with individual states. I think we also need to keep in mind that the department itself recognizes the great difficulties there are in enforcement and carrying such a practice out. As it relates to the Beltrami jail and reluctance to support a sales tax for the county for this, I think it's important for everyone, but especially for the legislature, to remember that many of the costs that our local units of government face in a variety of areas, but especially in jail construction, come about as a result of the Department of Corrections requirements and the requirements from the state of Minnesota. And I believe that we have a responsibility to help them in order to afford what we require of them. And then two other things that I would certainly like to see included in future offers. Obviously, I believe that one of our purposes as a legislature is to help communities that have an unusual problem that comes upon them, and that being the city of Windham with the plant closure there. And then also the short line railroad credit. As we look at the areas of the state that short-line railroads have taken over formerly main line railroad right-of-ways, that has become an extremely important element in rural Minnesota as far as moving product. And quite frankly, as you look at the capability of them with being able to put almost 4 truckloads into one car, have fewer emissions as a result of those short line trains that move around, I think that we're overlooking a valuable economic development tool in the state if we don't provide some assistance in terms of their track replacement and other issues that they can utilize such a credit for. And so I just hope those elements are kept in mind. I have other points, but I think that's enough for now, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Senator Weber. Wanted to make one more comment about the one-time public safety aid. We appreciate the increase in that, and it looks like maybe if we can have 3 or 4 more exchanges, that the House will be right there at 350 where we, or 300 where we are. So we look forward to that. And with regard to the Tribal Nations aid, I am, and I don't know a lot about when all of the rationale for when aids are offered to the tribal nations and they decline them, and whether it's based on a issues of the absolute relationship between the tribes and the state, and that sometimes ongoing money causes causes some reluctance to do that. And the one-time aid is not, because usually there is no conditions to it, that is more acceptable and maintains that balance of respect between the state and the tribes. And we're going to be looking at, rather than the ongoing aid, really having a big bump up in the one-time aid for this year. I know the governor had 44, we put in 44, and you have 75 each year. And just looking at that possibility of moving it all into 1 year and considerably increasing what we have, maybe not 4 times 75 million, but certainly respecting that. And just a thought, I'm not an expert in tribal-state relations, but just reacting to what folks have said to us. And obviously, there's some disappointments in the offer, and you will hear about them after we have a chance to speak. I too appreciate backing off from the uncertainties of the worldwide reporting, although we have, I think we've learned a lot in the last week or so from all the op-eds and the links to this professor and this other columnist about why either it is something that states should take up and to be bold in that, but at this point I'm still skeptical about how that actually could work, and there's too many uncertainties. And really looking back at when we adopted the Water's Edge going forward, looking back at that and wondering if that was the best thing to have done at that time, or whether or whether the water's edge itself was a mistake. We certainly are committed to looking at the other local government aids. We want to make sure that we do not ignore the $20 million of aids that has going for homelessness, starting in this year. Senator Carlson, Senator Nelson's bill from 2 years ago, and that, or I guess maybe it was Senator Chamberlain's bill at that time. But that's a new aid that's starting, and I think we should be counting that as one of the resources for as we look at the offers here, and that to still consider that some of the aids that are being proposed are really inappropriate, even though worthy in the tax committee and the tax bill, and they're more properly in the target of the Health and Human Services and or the housing bill, and inappropriate here. Although no problem about their worthiness. And with that, Representative Gomez, we're going to take a break to discuss among ourselves and see what we can come up with for further discussion. I mentioned they're not looking at taking a vote on things tonight, but just having more discussions, and of course about the so-called everything costs something, but the non-revenue items or spending items in our bill that are necessarily important to us for other reasons. But before we do, I was wondering, was there anything in our Senate offer from yesterday that any of your members had questions about? Anybody?
I'm looking at the team. I think
all
we're
right.
good, but
Just
yeah, we
want to
can
make
talk
sure, and if you do,
Thank you.
certainly contact us, and we'd be happy to explain the rationale or what the direction is that we believe the state should be taking, and appreciate the thoughtfulness of the aid that you and attention that you brought to this particular proposal. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to take a recess to the call of the chair. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we're not going out to dinner, right? We'll be back.
The governor's cabinet. The governor's cabinet.
Okay. Called back to order this meeting of the Tax Conference Committee. This is Senate offer for this evening, 5:14, 7 p.m. And it's offered as comparison with the two previous authors. And you will note, let me get a pen here. I want to, not one of these. That was this I needed, thank you. We have made some changes, and the first one is we had to take into account, and the House is aware of this as well for the people in the public, that we needed an adjustment and a correction on the revenue source for the GILTI by about $48 million. And that can be made up in in a few other ways, or in a few ways, and either reducing the outlays in the bill or reducing the revenue. And you'll see the effects of that as we go through this. We stayed with the Senate's revenue sources at this time, making adjustments in the, because of the GILTI. On the, and I'll have to go through these a bit slowly because I don't have a marked up copy of this author, so just bear with me if you will. We have still the child tax credit, separate from, is now the Senate, the House has already separated it. And we have kept the rebate, the one-time payment at the same as we both have had before. We're still keeping, so it's not a change for us on line 31, the Social Security subtraction at phasing out at 140. We've already agreed with the House on the pension the public pension provisions. We agree with the House on the renter's income tax credit. We agree with them on the child and dependent care credit, and these are not new agreements. I'm just repeating them, mostly because I think they're pretty important to both of us. We kept the same on the K-12 education credit. We made a change. Where is that? We made a change, if you would note it, on line 41, the Angel tax credit reinstatement. We kept that. The House had not had it, and we went to, we cut that in half to 10 million from our original 20 million. And now going down were things that we changed. And I really do apologize. I had a parked up copy upstairs and I don't have it here. Mr. Munn, I'm sure you have it noted. Could you at least tell us the lines on the things that we changed from our former offer, and then I'll just say a sentence or two, okay?
Madam
if
Chair, yes.
necessary.
Would you like me to walk through the entire sheet and indicate
That
those
would be good,
changes?
too.
Yep,
Yeah.
sure.
Get the people who can do it.
Members, Chair Rest already noted the change on line 41. The next change is on line 57. This is the amount from the House's most recent offer for the discharge student loan provision. The next change is on line 81. The Senate has removed the sales and use tax exemption for the Grand Rapids IRA Civic Center. And on lines 84 and 85, the Senate has accepted the House's most recent offer for the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport sales and use exemption, which is capped at $8 million. On line 103, the Senate has removed the expanded exemption for baby products. On line 105, the Senate has removed the exemption for fiber and conduit for broadband. And on line 107, the Senate has removed the exemption for amenities included with admission to athletic events. The next change is on line 124. The Senate has removed the one-time tribal aid for homelessness. And on the following line, the Senate has included tribal nations aid, the ongoing aid, at $25 million per year. On line 136, the Senate has removed the amount for debt service relief for the town of Crane Lake. On line 139, the Senate has adopted the House's most recent offer for Soil and Water Conservation District aid. On lines 149 and 150, the Senate has included amounts for a one-time increase to the homeowners and renters property tax refund. The percentage increase is not determined, but it would be backed into to arrive at these dollar amounts. On line 153, the Senate is including the $2 million in each biennium for the enhanced taxpayer assistance. And on line 165, the Senate is including the amounts for from the most recent House offer for the disabled veterans market value exclusion. And similarly, on 167, that provision is no longer in the Senate's offer. On line 175, the Senate has accepted or has included the House's initial offer for SCORE grants, distribution of the solid waste tax revenue for SCORE grants. And similarly, that's a change on line 176 as well. The Senate amount it's the same item on different lines. Madam Chair, I believe that is those are the individual lines that changed.
So Representative Gomez and House Conferees, do you have any questions for us? I think we're moving closer to one another on some things and still far away on others. And I think the ones that we are farther away on, those positions are held with some conviction, both your side and our side. I had the one I'm really interested in pursuing and learning more about is one we did make a change on, and that is the tribal aid, about making sure that we understand how that works, and thinking that it's a big step to go to an ongoing program, because we just simply don't have that. And in general, we've avoided dealing with aid programs that we think belong in other committees. And that's also the instruction that I've gotten from instruction, gentle hint, whatever you want to call it, from the majority leader who I've spoken to about this, and that aids that could be considered under the jurisdiction of the Health and Human Services Committee and/or the Housing Committee, that's where those aids ought to be settled, not in the Tax Committee. However, the tribal aid is different, and I do believe that, I don't totally, I mean, I got the aid for homelessness, that, which was that 44 million that was governor's aid, but also, because that's where he put it. But also, there are a variety of aid programs in those other two bills that deal with homelessness also. And it's probably an indication that the leadership should have given them a bigger target. But starting a new aid program that acts like a general support aid program, just like for counties, just like for cities, just like for towns. We're really interested in that and trying to find the right amount. We zeroed out the 44, but now put in 75, and we couldn't get to 225, but and I think that was, I don't know if that was yours or Representative Leslie Gard's or someone else's, but on the House side. But I was wondering how you decided that was a good way to go to support the tribal governments, and why we haven't really had that idea discussed seriously before. Or maybe you've been talking about it for years. I had not. So I wonder if you could give us some, and I really am interested, okay?
Yeah,
I
no.
want to do this. So I think it's also another, change, and maybe some people would say it's just money, but it's a structural change too, just like the renter's credit. And so how did you get there?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm going to answer your questions, but I want to express my appreciation for the movement on this and the openness, and your curiosity, and I'm taking it in that spirit, because I think that's how you're offering it. So actually, the idea for a tribal aid was brought to me by elected leadership from tribal nations. Okay. And specifically Chairman Mike Fairbanks from the White Earth Nation. And then along the way, I've had an opportunity to talk to elected leadership from all of the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota. And, so we kind of have gone through a process of going back and forth about allocation and about sort of the process. And so that's like the genesis of it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm really appreciative to them, to our tribal nations for the idea and for reaching out mm-hmm. and working with me, that we've been working together on it all session long. And so it came from
our offer is not a one-time money thing. Did you? I hope you noticed.
Oh yes. It is. Oh yeah, we noticed. Yes.
It is.
I'm thrilled. I didn't mean to not express my excitement.
It's not one-time money.
Yeah.
It is ongoing. It's just that the first year was 25, and then the rest of the so for the 3 years it amounts to $75. In your bill, it's only accepted by seven tribal governments. And as I understand it, in some other places, bills or something or other would have an opportunity for the tribes to opt in. But as I didn't go back and look at it, I was just asking, there's not that option in your language right now. Are you going to consider an opt-in for the other four tribes?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking. We have language drafted like that. We have an amendment that it establishes it. Yeah, so basically we've kind of gone back and forth. I guess I want to acknowledge that, you know, the state government of Minnesota, we ask our 11 culturally distinct tribal nations to come together in a group and like come up with solutions that work for all of them. And that is something that doesn't happen to other, you know, politically distinct nations, right? So there's a tension there. And I will say that we've been through conversations and each of the tribal nations, of course, had like their own considerations and their own input to give. And so we sort of like started with an inclusive list, found that wasn't really working for everybody, then went to naming tribal nations, and now we've upon further consultation, because you know it's sort of been this iterative process back and forth. We just sort of point to the to federally recognized tribes, and then just provide an opportunity, as you suggested, for them to opt in. So we have exactly that already drafted.
So with, let's say, so with 25 million a year but ongoing, how do you envision that aid being distributed?
So the allocation of the aid has also been a topic that we've gone back and forth on, as you can imagine. So, you know, of course, there are, like I was saying, I mean, the characteristics of the tribal nations in Minnesota are very diverse. And so, you know, there are, in terms of geography, in terms of the size of the tribes, in terms of...
Some are very small.
Yeah, in terms of the economic situation of tribal members, in terms of how many members live on or off reservation. We also in Minnesota, you know, Red Lake Nation is here, which is one of, I believe, 2 closed reservations in the country where they didn't undergo allotment. And so there's a lot of different needs. And so, you know, in recognition of that, and I want to acknowledge like that what we've arrived at is not a solution that everybody's like, I'm thrilled with that. That's my perfect thing, right? But we do a 50-50 split. So half of the money is distributed equally between the tribes that opt in, and the other half of the money is distributed based on population. And
there's a de minimis of some sort, or it's just half,
it's just half.
regardless of the size of the
Right.
of the population size.
Yeah, so then we're able to, you know, you just said like some tribal nations have a very small population, and that's because colonization worked and has, you know, killed a lot of indigenous people on this land. And so some of the tribes who are the original inhabitants of this land are the smallest tribes in Minnesota and have a very small land base compared to other tribes. And some tribes live very far away from, you know, population centers. And, you know, the Grand Portage Nation, which is on the border with Canada, and previously relied on tourism for their gaming for a lot of the economic activity on the reservation. You know, during COVID, the border was shut down, and it was shut down long after our emergency declaration was lifted, for example.
Do they anticipate regaining that tourism traffic?
Well, my understanding from visiting with some of the leaders is that they have not seen the rebound in the business. It just isn't there. And so, you know, so they in particular are in a really kind of acute crisis situation right now economically. And you know, as you said, like the idea with this aid is the acknowledgement that these tribal governments deliver this, you know, services to people who are on their reservation and close by, public safety, EMS, social services, infrastructure, all of the things that other governments
There are
do.
no strings attached.
There are no strings attached. It's a general
I think
aid.
That it's the same kind of aid that goes to counties and to cities. They're really, it's general. I mean, we talk about the particularly LGA being property tax relief, but we know that it's also general government aid.
Yeah.
And we hope it's used for property tax relief when it can be, but understand that there are other needs. And so we don't micromanage cities, we don't micromanage counties, and we shouldn't micromanage this either. I
That's
would
right.
say, I guess.
That's right. And you know, I want to, although, you know, we just do want to be really clear that, you know, tribes aren't units of government, and this tribal aid doesn't live in that chapter of the tax statutes. It is in a separate chapter, because we don't want there to be any confusion about the relationship, that these are relationships between, you know, government to government relationships. And so it's different than between the state and a local unit of government, but it's an acknowledgement that some of those same services are delivered by tribal governments and local governments along with the state. And we have that partnership that we want to build on.
Are there any other questions from members? Certainly, Senator Klein.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chair Gomez. Just as we prepare for your counteroffer, I was curious about one thing that's, I guess, important to at least this member of the Senate caucus is the pass-through entity tax, and it's a no-cost item that helps our small businesses. And you haven't included it on your spreadsheet, which is maybe a little surprising because it doesn't have a cost. I wondered if there was a philosophical objection to the provision or.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Klein. So that was actually, we've talked a lot about it, and Representative Davids is with his family today. He doesn't come on Sundays, so he's excused, but he's the author of this in the House, and it's very important to him. And of course, you know, like you, regardless of our party, you know, we're interested in doing, you know, work for the House, and so it's very important to him. And yeah, we're having a couple of conversations about it. I guess I was trying to understand from my staff, honestly, this is what it was. They were like, it's a negative unknown. That's like what it said. And I'm trying to understand that just for my own, just learning, you know, about, I think like, obviously, you know, I've been on the tax committee for a couple terms and now I'm chairing it, but I will say that, you know, some of the business taxes are very complicated and I'm learning. And so it's really just like me trying to understand that part of the estimate about it. And you know, I do, just because it is, although like we don't carry a cost for it on our spreadsheet, it's facilitating a pretty major federal benefit for the entities that use it. And so I am trying to understand like, kind of the scale of that, because that's something that's important to me as someone who like, you know, I am, well, in these positions, it's like I view myself as like a steward of the tax base. Like I'm trying to protect the tax base for the state of Minnesota so that we can do the things that we need to do for our people. And that's like sort of the way I approach it, but also, you know, as I'm looking at something like this, like, yes, it doesn't carry a cost on my spreadsheet, but I live in the United States, and this is also, you know, the tax base of the country sort of matters to me too, I guess, as I'm thinking about it sort of philosophically. So I'm really trying to just understand that part of it, but, you know, it's definitely, it's not like I'm a no on it or anything like that, so.
Okay, good. So that's what we have.
Great. Well, I really appreciate this. I especially appreciate the conversation about the tribal aid. And yeah, I think that we're just going to stay working and get back to work if that's okay with
Sure.
you, Madam Chair.
And it doesn't look like it should take a long time to do these things, but we know it does. And I know that your conferees go over, you know, the 150 lines here as well and have questions. And so I was wondering if you would have been amenable to adjourning, and then we'll wait for more movement from you tomorrow. I don't know our floor agenda tomorrow,
Okay, I don't know ours either.
just to be
so-
able to give
Yeah.
that to you for a
We're in at
start
10.
time.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, that works for me, adjourning now, and we can just stay in touch about timing and what works.
And
You know.
we go in at 10.
Okay,
And probably, caucusing right away and that, so still probably, and to give you time for responses here and I wonder if it would be helpful, if you work on a money thing, and I use that word a lot, sorry,
that works for me.
thing. But, and maybe we could look during the day at some of the non-money items, the ones that you love the most.
Oh, yeah,
Those.
looking forward to it.
And some of the other, maybe less controversial, but still things that both of us want to take up. And we have, Senator Dibble says we have labor, jobs, education, and commerce. So Senator Klein's going to be busy there, but some of the rest of us can be looking at some of those other things and visiting with the commissioner and Ms. Bears. And then wait for your or Patrick's notice about when you'd like to start. And I'm not particularly going to rush the two of us and our conferees to get a good decision made. It may not come tomorrow night, it might come Tuesday morning, I mean, whatever. But we're going to get a good bill. Okay,
I agree, thank you.
all right, great. We're adjourned.
Labor and jobs is one thing. Labor and jobs.
Well, I didn't know.
I should have.
Anybody?